So as you guys might know, my fiance and I like to do theme weeks because I'm trying to show her a ton of films and I needed to try to keep it more focused because I will seriously get lost trying to, pick the next movie to show her. So we decided on theme weeks. And one theme that I was really, really looking forward to was Where Is Everybody films, which is kind of a subgenre that I feel like I kind of made up because I never heard another single person talk about it unless they see a movie like this and they're like, oh, it's like this other film. But I've never really heard anybody mention this as an actual subgenre, but this is an actual subgenre to me because I just think it's like the coolest idea is when you get somewhere or you wake up or whatever and everyone is missing. I One of my very first videos I ever did on this channel was a video called Unique Subgenres, Where Is Everybody, where I discussed a bunch of films like this and talked about how this needs to be a subgenre and there needs to be more films like this because typically I like films like this a whole bunch, starting all the way back with the Twilight Zone episode, Where Is Everybody, the very first episode of the Twilight Zone. And then when I think I saw Phantoms is really when I was like, whoa, I really like this concept. Are there more movies like this? And ever since then, I have been searching for more Where Is Everyone films. And I'm sure there's films out there that I have not seen, but I don't know of their existence. So if you know of any, let me know in the comments. I've probably seen the ones you're going to mention, but throw them at me anyways. Why not? So Don't Blink. Man, I am a big, big fan of this film. I showed it to Kaylee last night. She loved it. I've seen it probably, 4 or 5 times now. And I just love it every single time. So if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. But we're going to talk spoilers now, so let's get into it. So we have our characters, and they're driving up to this resort or hotel, whatever the hell it is. And while they're driving up, it's this long drive through the mountains, and they are all kind of on empty. Like, they're like, Jesus, like, how far is this place? But they know that there is a gas station when they get there. And so they get there, and I'll tell you, man, I've definitely driven. You know that feeling you get when you're driving and the car is hitting that empty gauge, and you're like on a long stretch of road, and you're just sitting there like, am I gonna fucking run out of gas? Am I gonna run out of gas? And it's literally all you can focus on the entire time you're driving. You're like trying to change your mind, but then you just keep looking down. You're like, okay. Where, and you're thinking like, am I really going to get stranded on the side of the fucking road right now? Is that really going to happen to me? As many horror movies as I've seen, you start freaking. The kid in the back seat, the brother, who's actually really funny and a very likable character, and unfortunately kind of leaves the film pretty early on, is peeing in a bottle while on the road. I have attempted this, and for some reason I just can't do it. I can't, sit down in a seat, because we all go to the bathroom sitting down if, we're going poop. So it isn't sitting down that makes it hard to pee for me. It's like, I don't know what the fuck it is. Maybe it's just like a mental block. It's gotta be. It's a mental block that I'm not supposed to be pissing in a car. So like anytime I've ever been in a car and we're like driving really long distance and you're like in the car with friends or something and they're like, no man, we can't stop, we gotta go. Or like you're in a big rush and you're like, oh, I'll just pee in a bottle. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't know what it is. I'm sure that if it got bad enough. I always do think about this, though. How many people have pissed and shit their pants while in traffic? Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I go from 0 to 100. I don't know if it's like irritable bowel syndrome. I don't know what the fuck it is. But like, I don't have to go to the bathroom. I don't have to go to the bathroom. And then, boom, I have got to go right now. And if I don't, I'm gonna shit my pants. And I could not imagine if I was, I was stuck in traffic from like some car accident where you're bumper to bumper for 2 straight hours and you're just sitting there having shit. I could not. It's like my nightmare. I've never had it happen. I've definitely had to go to the bathroom, but never like that. I don't know what you do. After a while, I don't know. Especially if like you're in a part of the road where there's like barriers on both sides, where it's like the freeways here and it's like a concrete barrier, and then the other side is like 5 lanes over and it's like a concrete barrier if you're like on the freaking 405 in Orange County or something, or the 5 freeway in downtown LA. Like, there's nowhere to run off to. You can't run off to the fucking woods to try to shit out there and say screw it if everyone's honking at me. This is like, there's nowhere to go. So like, what are you gonna do? Try to grab a bag and shit in the car while there's literally someone right here and there's someone right here and they're just gonna be looking over at me. And when you're in traffic with people, they're looking right at you. And you're like, hey, how's it going? I'm just gonna shit in this bag. It's like a nightmare scenario. It's like that, dreaming that you're gonna, be naked in public or whatever. This is worse. I don't know what the hell I do. I guess eventually you just go to the bathroom and just sit in it for hours. I can't imagine. But I have to imagine that's happened a lot, a good amount. And I don't think it's something anyone would ever say to anybody. But although one time when I did work at McDonald's and I was a manager there, this like 40-something-year-old crack, meth addict. I think she was on meth. I don't know what the hell she was on. But she was our janitorial lady. And she just walked up to me and was like, Jason, I need to go home. And I was like, why? And she's like, because I pooped myself. And I'll just never forget that, because she was so casual about it. She was so, like, open about it. And I was like, it was so funny in the moment. But regardless, I was sitting there like, if I shit my pants at work, if that happened, I would not go tell anybody that that's what happened. Like, would you tell people that you shit your pants? Or would you go and be like, hey, I'm just not feeling well. I gotta go home, man. I have a really bad stomach out. Whatever. You don't actually say that you shit your pants. And she was so, like, loud about it, but not, like, trying to be loud about it. She was just like, I pooped myself. I was like, you what now? You pooped yourself? And she's like, yeah, I pooped myself. I gotta go home. And I was like, oh my God, go home forever. Don't come back. This is insane. But who does that? Anyways, peeing in a bottle really kind of went off on a tangent there, but yeah, peeing in a car. Can you pee in a bottle, guys? Girls can't pee in a bottle. Holy shit! That could they? I don't think so. The bottle. That fucking no way. There's no way. Anyway, moving on. The one guy has a really young girlfriend, but I don't know the ages in this movie. They say she's a really young girlfriend. She don't look that young. I always was that guy with the youngest girlfriend. So I understand that. But the ages in this are weird because one of the girls is talking about like writing her thesis or something, like she's in college. And a few of these characters, the dude with the longer hair who has the girlfriend, the younger girlfriend, who's like 25 probably. I looked up his age. He was like 44 in this movie. Or 42. I think, yeah, he's 42. And then Zach Ward is 44. And I was just like, what are these ages? Who are, Brian Austin Green was like 41, stuff like that. I'm like, but then the other girl's talking about college stuff. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here with these characters? What ages are these guys supposed to be? Because if these guys are supposed to be college age, whoa, this is worse than Dawson's Creek casting like 20-something-year-olds to play 16-year-olds. So I don't fucking know. Mina Savari is top billed. When this, she's not top billed here at least. She's second on here. But in the credits, when the movie ends, Mina Savari is top billed. And she is the first person to disappear about 10 minutes into this movie. And she never returns. She's the most famous person in the movie. At that time. Definitely. But top billed at the end of your movie, like I get you're trying to sell your movie so you put her on the cover of the DVD, right? Like I get that for sure. Even if you cast some known person for like 4 seconds, they always put them on the cover of the film. Star power sells. But in the actual film, it should have been, like always, like in every film ever, when you have a bigger named actor and they're not in the film as much, the credits roll and they get that and position. So you do all the names of all the actors in the film and then, coming up onto the screen one by one, and then they always do the with, blah, and blah. And the and person is always the bigger name person who wasn't in the film a bunch. They always get that and position. That's where Mina Savari's name should have been in this. She's in Brian Austin Green, Zach Ward, whoever. And Mina Savari. She should not be top billed in this movie. It's fucking insane. She has like 10 lines in the movie. She's in the film accumulatively maybe 5 minutes. Top billed. Insane. Ridiculous. I mean, Brian Austin Green should at least be top billed because he's also a bigger named person. Probably as big as Mina Savari is. I mean, fuck else did she do besides, the American Pie movies and American Beauty? I guess a lot of American movies. But yeah, she's the biggest name, but not by a large margin or anything. Large margin? I thought I was saying large Marge. Tell them Large Marge sent you. So anyways, okay, some of the things that are interesting in this film when it comes to the lore is the drastic temperature change, which kind of makes me think of like the Dementors from Harry Potter. Because like when they come around, they're basically like death, right? They look like Grim Reapers, and they come in and the temperature changes drastically. It's real cold around them. And they come in and they kill people or take people. And within this, but it's weird. This is not how this works. I don't understand this. Like, the cold stuff doesn't really play into the film much, right? It's there. It's a cool little idea, but I don't really feel like it's well imagined because it's not like the closer the cold gets, the closer death is, right? So like when they see it back at the lodge or the hotel or whatever, everyone's missing, everyone's gone, right? And people start disappearing, and they're still talking about how hot it is, and then they go down and it's frozen everywhere, and it's like these weird temperature fluctuations really have nothing to do with your chances of survival. So I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that that's kind of what you think it's gonna be. But it's not because the people that are missing from the lodge, unless that like cold front moved in and then away, that's kind of what they start to make you believe, like, because at that point I don't think anyone's missing from their group. It's just that the cold's out there and maybe it's creeping back their way, and when the cold got there, it started taking everybody, and then it moves out. That would have been interesting. right? As death moves in, the cold moves in. As the cold moves out, death disappears, or the disappearing. Like when the cops arrive, there's like no snow, but then she looks out the window at the end and she starts to see snow, and she's like, "Oh shit!" And she looks around and everyone's gone. That would have made a little more sense. So I think that's one thing I would alter, is that the cold would signify that death was coming. That they don't really do here. This is more of like an anomaly. Like something's wrong with the the weather, and all the bugs are missing, all the birds are gone. Like it's changing the rules of everything. I'm okay with that. It's fine. I just think that they could have utilized it better, in my opinion. But whatever. But yeah, no animals, no insects. That is definitely this film. Does Phantoms do that? I don't think Phantoms does that, does it? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm going to be looking out for that because we're going to be watching a decent amount of them. I would assume the Langoliers would do that, since everything disappears because they go back in time, or they're stuck in like 1 minute before time or something. So yeah, I would assume all the bugs die off. But yeah, anyway. All right. And I like that they mentioned the Twilight Zone in this, because the Twilight Zone is definitely of inspiration here and has a Where Is Everybody episode. So I'm sure that they probably got inspiration from that when writing this. I think that the dialogue in this and the characters' decisions and all that are great. I think that the logic and the discussion of everything is really solid and makes sense. And everything that we're thinking, they say. This is one of those scenarios where you're just fucked. And these people are just trying to deal with being fucked. There's not really any chance of them getting out of this. There's nothing they can do. They do everything they can think of, and nothing works. They discuss things very logically. The things that they say make perfect sense. They're saying everything I would be saying. And Zach Ward, what is his name in this? Alex, I want to say. I wrote it down somewhere. Alex, yeah. The redhead. The guy from A Christmas Story, Scott Farkas. He is the best. He's the best character in this movie by far. He is so awesome and funny, and he's me. He's the me of the movie for sure. I love him so much, and the banter and the dialogue exchange between him and the cute little freaking like punky girl who decides to turn to Jesus all of a sudden when she gets really scared. That whole thing where he's like, "Oh, here we go." He's like, "I knew this was going to happen, but I expected it to be Charlotte." Like that stuff. And then when he gets in her face and he's throwing back logic in her face, and he's yelling at her, and he's like, "All right, how about this then? You pray and I won't, and whoever disappears last wins." That shit is hilarious to me. Seriously, his character is phenomenally written and phenomenally acted. He is fucking fantastic in this film. He is so funny. He is so likable to me. And just like when she's going off on her Jesus rant, and he's like, "I want to punch you in the face so fucking hard right now." I seriously almost cried laughing, because that's exactly how you feel in that moment. It's like, shut up about this. I love it. I love him. I love everything he talks about. I love this, like when he grabs Noah and he puts him in the chair, and he's like, "Oh, what do you want? You want me to ask him nice?" And he goes down and he's like, "Hey, creepy Noah, how's it going?" And he like shoots him in the leg, and then he shoots him again, and then Brian Austin Green's character comes over and he's like, "Oh, what now? You gonna stop me on the second bullet but not the first?" And he gets in his face and he's like, "You want these answers too. You just don't have the stomach to get them." And he pushes them away. And it's true. 100%. Both of them. There's some of their humanity left, but at the same time, they're just as scared, and they would like to be doing what he's doing. They just don't have the stomach for it. And that's the truth of that situation. Noah disappears for hours by himself, no eyes on him, and then he just shows back up. And everyone's like, okay, what the fuck? And he's been acting like a creep the entire time. You're thinking this guy has something to do with it. And by that point, they're already too scared. They're already too out there. And neither one of them are really trying to stop him other than saying stuff. And Brian Austin Green's character barely says anything. And he's like, all right, that's enough. And it's like, you try to stop me now when it's this far in? Bullshit. You're just doing it because you're trying to like save face here. That stuff is fantastic. Every single word out of Alex's mouth in this film. Just about, him immediately wanting to leave. He's like, let's go. We're out of here. We're gone. And every moment he's like, let's go. Now. And he's like, they take a vote. And he's like, I just want it to be known. I think you're wrong. And, then he keeps like every moment. He's just like, I'm fucking out of here. But he kind of always holds it together for the most part. And it's his buddy that loses his fucking mind, pulls a gun on everybody, shoots his friend, which is such a dick move. But this film really illustrates fear really well and what it does to people. Like one turns to religion, one turns into kind of like, the role takers, like I'm going to be in charge here. And another one is like willing to do anything to get out of the situation, even hurt his friends. And the other one becomes, kind of moralless and is like, I'm going to be the most logical one here. And another one kind of goes into catatonia once her boyfriend ends up disappearing. And there's all the different kinds of reactions that people would have, and they're all kind of right here. And the dude even sleeps with his ex-girlfriend. And then when there's some really cool moments when people disappear in this. Because if you just take your eyes off of them for a second, and you can kind of tell that they're coming for the most part, but it's kind of how effective it is and people's reactions that matter the most, right? They just they open up the refrigerator door, they close it, she's gone. And they do a fake out on that, which was cool. But then, the bed sheet looks over and the girl's bed sheet falls. Stuff like that, it's great. We don't ever get an explanation, and this film would be so much worse off if it did try to explain what was happening. This is the kind of film you absolutely leave open for question on what's happening. To make it an explanation, kind of like Phantoms tries, it's just, it's always going to be too convoluted. It's never going to be a good enough answer. I don't want an answer. I don't know what's taking all these people. I don't know what's happening to them. I don't want to know. I really don't. I just love watching it unfold. And I think this film never overstays its welcome. I don't think that it overplays its gag. I feel like it always comes up with creative, fresh ways to do things in a very low budget setting while never feeling low budget or limited by its budget. I think it's such a great film. And when Alex does the whole nothing matters rant, and he's like, I could shoot both of you and I could rape Charlotte and all that stuff, and it's not going to matter because they're going to erase us. This is kind of like, this is where my brain goes when I'm alone at night and I'm thinking too deeply about the meaninglessness of life. I'm not saying my life is meaningless. I'm saying that that's where your brain can easily go, especially if you're someone without a religious belief like myself. You can and I think that's why people are drawn towards religion typically, is because they want to have purpose. They want to feel, either special or that it all has some big, deeper meaning. And without that, a lot of people are like, well, if it's completely pointless, then why should I bother? Now that's a discussion for a different, time. I'm not going to get into my full thoughts on that, but I can say that I definitely think that there is a meaning to life, even if there is no meaning. You don't have to have a meaning for this to be meaningful, right? You can have a meaningful existence without a grand scheme meaning to it. But you do leave an impression on the generations that come after you for sure, whether you think it was so or not, especially if you have children. But his whole discussion about meaning in that situation definitely hits home, and also because of how you would feel in that situation, but also kind of the irony of the fact that there was no blood left behind by these people, that he doesn't want to be erased. He doesn't want to be forgotten, because that's kind of one of the major fears, and that's what this film plays on, is the fear of being erased. Not dead, erased from memory, that you never existed. That's a scary thought. Now, some people, that might be an appealing thought because, they're self-deprecating and they think they're horrible and that their lives don't matter and all that shit. But you know how people are like that. But they're not thinking right. Their brain is just off. But yeah, just that thought of of never having ever having existed when you do like yourself, when you do like what you've left behind. And so he's like, I don't want to be forgotten. I don't want to leave no trace. I don't want to be like the rest of you. So he shoots himself. 100% understand that. And then they look away for a second, and then when they look back, everything's gone. That is so fucked up, that he blows his head off to leave blood and his body behind. And then when they turn around, everything's gone. Him, his blood, everything. They take his blood. It's like a total fuck you, as he said. It's like the lettuce on the fuck you sandwich. He has so many great lines in this. So many great lines. I love everything that comes out of his mouth in this film. Charlotte is in shock, and they just basically ignore her. They're like, they don't care about Charlotte at all when she's like catatonic. And then they look over, and they're in the bathroom, and she like walks over, because they didn't even take her with them. And she's like, I'm gonna go now. How the hell she knows that she's gonna go in that moment? Who the hell knows? But it's a creepy line, and she just disappears. And then, he's in the bathroom with her, and then they both are like falling asleep. In that moment, seriously, slap each other in the fucking face. And it's funny, they're hanging out in a dark bathroom, and then 1 second later they go outside, and it's like bright daylight out. They obviously lost track of time in there. But he just kind of like falls, and then when you're the last one, that's got to be scary shit, because no one can watch you, and you find that the rules are that no one can be taken when they're being watched, which we find out to be, in the end, not true, right? All the cops, all of the fucking fire department, everybody who's there, emergency response people, they all disappear at the same exact time. This is why the snow would have been cool. And then she could have been like, people didn't have to be watched to be taken. Basically, it's just fucking with you. It wants to take you when you're not looking, but it doesn't have to. Although I guess it's possible that everyone just so happened to be looking off in different directions, not at each other, so it took them all at once. But they never took anybody more than one person at a time. So I guess it has the ability to take everyone at once, but it might just get off on, fucking with people. Taking them one at a time and watching them frantically run around. But when the cops and all them are there, they just want to eradicate. Because maybe it's like still in the process of playing the game with this final girl, who you never expect to be the final girl in this movie. She seems like such a non-character, and then she ends up being a final girl, which is great. That's the way it should be. You should never know who's going to be the final person. That is always how every film should be. It should never be a focus on like Lori or Nancy or any of the obvious final girls. It should always just be a collection of characters. No one gets more screen time or more focus than anyone else. You don't have a main character. That way, anyone can die at any moment. If I ever write a slasher movie, if I ever make a film, you're never going to know who's going to live and who's going to die. And if I make a movie where I do have like a central protagonist, you can almost assured yourself. Is that right? I don't know. You can be assured that I'll be killing them off. Very shockingly. Somewhere completely random. But yeah. That's it. Good film. Now I'm going to disappear. Adios.